Hi, it's Charlie Zietz with Stargate Pyramids and the Pyramid Science Foundation. Today's video is going to discuss some results we received recently on a video we did on how to use your caduceus coil. And what the title of these results in this video is going to be is caduceus coil and solfeggio frequency life force energy testing results. So what we did was to set up about 11 scenarios where we tested the relative value of the caduceus coil and solfeggio frequencies in a variety of different situations to demonstrate the tremendous added value of those two components to life force energy inside the pyramid. So without further ado, if you want to watch the video that these results came from, go to the Pyramid Science Foundation YouTube page, and in the how-to section of our videos, you'll find that how to use the caduceus coil video, and you can actually see these results being taken live. And my thanks at this point to Bill McKenzie, an expert dowser who I've worked with for several years now. He was kind enough to come on and do these tests. I'm always grateful for Bill's work and assistance. It's great to know that the results that I receive from his dowsing are highly consistent with those that we've achieved in other testing protocols in the past. So without further ado, let's get started and look at the results. So this is a summary of the scenarios that we ran here. We're going to come back and talk about these in just a minute, but the first thing I want to do for those of you not familiar with dowsing and what's called the Bovis Life Force Energy Scale, I wanted to show you that scale very briefly. This can be found out on Bing or Google Images. If you just type Bovis Life Energy chart, you'll be able to get this. This particular chart, there's several variations on it, but goes from 0 to 1,000,000. And if you, as we will today, go off the charts, then dowsers know how to recalibrate this chart to go to higher levels just by mentally saying, well, now a million might be a billion or a trillion, and doing that work mentally. But anyway, this is the chart that we're using. This is a standard chart that's used throughout the dowsing world. And it's one that JCK uses as well in her videos for those of you who follow JC. So to start with, I wanted to just talk about the base case that we achieved to give us some semblance of reference. In this base case measurement of 35,000, this is my life force energy tests in all cases. 35,000 to go back to the chart, 35,000 is, if you see here around 1030 on the scale, it's right here where my cursor is. It's in the cosmic realm, so my baseline energy is fairly good. Others, it's not going to be so good, especially people who have never used the pyramid before. And I guess it's okay. I'm going to use JCK as an example of that. JC got her pyramid and decided to do some life force energy testing on herself before using the pyramid. And that particular day, and we all have good days, bad days, but just by way of introduction and explanation, her life force was at 6,000, which is in the negative realm here. So she wasn't feeling well. She got inside the pyramid, tested her life force energy, and it was much, much higher. It was about 100,000. But the most important thing, the next day when she tested her life force energy, before getting into the pyramid again, after getting up the next morning, it was already in the 20,000 range, which is in the spiritual realm. So I'm sure that her life force energy has increased dramatically since those first two readings. But I'm telling you this by way of introduction to the fact that continued use of the pyramid should continue to raise your vibration on an outstanding and ongoing basis. So I'd never tested mine because I wasn't aware of this before I started using pyramids, but I just am trying to give you an appreciation for the fact that everyone's energy field, no matter where you start, should rise through the use of the pyramid and these accessories. So anyway, to go back to our chart, the first thing that we did after the base case was to let me sit inside the pyramid. And this particular pyramid is the one I'm sitting in right now that we were using for testing. But it has quartz sand in the base pipes, and it also has one of Lisa's capstones at the top of the pyramid. And once I sat inside the pyramid, just having the pyramid capstone and quartz sand in the base raised my life force energy from 35,000 to 10 million, literally off the chart already from the Bovis life force scale. But we wanted to continue on, and so the first addition that we did to that was to start playing the 528 hertz healing frequency on my cell phone. And this is for those of you who don't have a Caduceus coil, you'll see that you still get a huge impact from just playing those frequencies with your sitting inside the pyramid, and it makes a dramatic difference, taking my life force energy from 10 million to 100 million, a tenfold increase just by playing the solfeggio frequency 528. So next, we started to introduce the Caduceus coil. So in these next few scenarios, the Caduceus coil, when you play it, you're not going to hear anything because the tones are actually being converted from something in the audio spectrum into scalar waves. And that is the preferred way of receiving and transmitting data and energy by our DNA. But to start with, we took the coil, hooked it up together, and played 528, put the coil on the floor. One of the first things we wanted to find out, and a question that many people have, what's the best place to put your Caduceus coil while you're using it? We'll show that here shortly. When we placed the coil on the floor with the 528 frequency playing, my life force energy jumped from 100 million to 500 million. When I held the coil in my hand horizontally like this and just put it in my lap, then the life force energy went to 700 million. Then when I held the coil vertically, it jumped to 1 billion. But the most important and most energy that we received was when we suspended the coil from the top of the pyramid. And what I did in that case, when you get your Caduceus coil, I have to drill holes at each end to put the copper wires through to turn it and get it all wired properly. And so I just put a piece of string through those holes, tied it together in a loop, and put it down from the top of my pyramid. So again, when we put it on the apex of the pyramid, my life force energy went up to 2 billion. So clearly the best place for the placement of your Caduceus coil is going to be at the top. We didn't test the horizontal. I'm sure that's going to work, if not as well, almost as well. You can put that on the top of the apex amplifier that Lisa sells. I didn't have one on this pyramid that day, and that's the reason we didn't do that test. And we'll try to do that in the future. But clearly, putting it at the top is the most advantageous. Now, the next couple of sets, we began to introduce different frequencies into the mix here. I wanted to be a classical musician when I was in high school. And so I was used to tuning with Concert A at 440. And it was only when I grew up and learned about solfeggio frequencies and what had happened to our tuning scales after World War II that I found out that Concert A used to be 432 hertz rather than the 440 that we use today. So we decided to do some testing and see what difference there would be between a 432 concert A and a 440 played through the caduceus coil. So the first thing we did was to change 528 to 432, and lo and behold, we got a huge increase in the energy, life force energy measurement from 2 billion to 5 billion, which was quite a surprise to me. But then when we switched the 528 down to 440, it dropped back again to 2 billion. So what this is demonstrating to me is that using non-solfeggio frequencies is going to have a dampening effect on the life force energy produced through the coil. Now, the next thing we did, this was something that I began thinking about after I did some testing on some other coils recently with a gentleman from the Philadelphia area who also makes really powerful coils. He makes, for example, something called a 14-point star coil, and we may do some videos on those in the future. But no matter, what came out of some discussions there was an idea that perhaps we could do even better by putting frequencies through both the coil and a traditional speaker from a stereo, or you could do it, I guess, from your cell phone as well, to see what having it in both frequency ranges would do to life force energy. And sure enough, what we found was that by playing this through both the the speaker and the coil, that we raised the life force energy from 5 billion, which is the most comparable example scenario here, up to 7 billion. So there is something that is significant there and probably deserves some further study in future videos. And finally, the last thing I wanted to test, we were starting to run out of time. I had more things to do, but I wanted to test what would happen playing multiple frequencies at the same time. Some of the research work that's been done by G.W. Hardin, Hardin, you can go to soundsofwonder.com and find his research there. But he had indicated to us that playing multiple solfeggio frequencies at the same time on a frequency tone generator that would allow for multiple tones simultaneously would actually increase the viability and the life force energy. And sure enough, he was right. So what we did, I took 3 frequencies, 222, 333, and 444, which are from one of the solfeggio scales that Hardin has produced through independent research. And I tested that, and sure enough, playing 3 frequencies at the same time raised my life force energy from 10 billion to 10 billion from 7 billion when we were just playing one frequency. So it looks as though the playing of multiple frequencies allows for production of the overtones and the lower tones, which are called heterodynes, and bringing forth really the full matrix of the solfeggio frequencies into the environment. So a major improvement in life force energy there. And lastly, what I did, and I think this is just as dramatic as finding the improvement, all I did in the final scenario, if you'll notice, I put in larger typeface 333 and 332 so you could see that. 332 is not a solfeggio frequency. Not to digress too much, but the way you know if something is a solfeggio frequency, one of the conditions at least, is that the sum of the digits has to come up to either 3, 6, or 9. If it goes over 10, then you do a reduction or casting out of 9s to come up with that final solution. But 222 added together would be 6. 333 is 9. And 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. You reduce 12, again, add those, and you get 3. So you've got 6, 9, and 3, 3, 6, and 9 in this mix, which are the divine frequencies in solfeggio. But what I did in the last case was I changed the 333 to 332. And what we found was that the life force energy reading went from 10 billion all the way down to 2. And I must tell you anecdotally that when I did this on the live stream, I told people, and I feel this myself, when I tuned down one frequency from 333 to 332, I started getting like a tightness in my gut, in my abdomen, and in my chest area. And other people who were on the live stream experienced the same thing. So what that's, it's just a hinting for us at how important it is to get our bodies into these energy fields that are harmonically tuned with the 369 vortex mathematics. So there's much more for us to explore, but this is, in summary, a demonstration that the pyramid, the caduceus coils, and solfeggio frequencies all have a major impact on improving our life force energy. And these are all things that I would look forward to having each of you test yourself who are dowsers and report back to us with your results as well. I hope this has been helpful. I thank you for watching, and you have a great day.